What's up guys, Ruppy here bringing you my Week 6 battle for the SAPL as my Columbus Swoo look to keep our undefeated ways intact against the Oakland Chompers coached by Derpy. This is going to be a tricky matchup because Derpy is a very solid battler, all things considered. The only two of his 3 losses have actually been really only because of his predecessor. Heading into Week 3, he took over a team that was 0-2. Made a very powerful team, and started turning things around. So he lost last week to our old pal Jarrett, aka division rival Los Angeles Reshiram's, who are still ahead of me in differential, which I'm hoping to maybe try to fix today. Hopefully. But you see my team off to the left. The team builder video went up yesterday. His team's off to the right. Of the defensive things I expected him to bring, I figured Heatran would probably come. I figured Cofagrigus would probably come. I'm very familiar with how much of a pain Cofagrigus is to take down. I've used it in several other leagues, some of which have ended up on this channel. Gligar doesn't surprise me too much, because that's the one thing that keeps Zapdos from Volt switching all over his team. And it's a Stealth Rock setter and a Defogger, so I've identified his Hazard Remover. He's also packing a fair amount of offense in the Kyurem-Black, which I figured was going to come. Mega Pidgeot, which I really don't want to face, but I have to. And the Cobalion, which I was kind of intrigued as to what he was planning with his Cobalion. It's roughly what I expected him to bring, but to be fair, in the case of his team, there were a number of different things he could have brought that I could have predicted. The one and only thing I was basically 100% positive he was going to bring for sure was going to be the Kyurem-Black. Everything else was pretty much a toss-up because he could have brought any one of them, and this still would have been a tricky matchup for me. But let's go ahead and get into the battle and see what happened. So Derpy's going to go ahead and send a challenge my way. Definitely looking fly there, dude. He's going to lead with Gligar as I decide to lead with Archangel, which actually does work out kind of nicely for me, to be perfectly honest. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off a Hidden Power Ice right out of the gate, just to get some heavy damage off on this thing, because I don't want to play around with it. He is going to go ahead and get his rocks up. Unfortunately, I am not packing Defog on Zapdos this week, because I felt I really needed Roost for this game. But I really don't think I'm going to be bothered by the rocks too much, in all honesty. I predict him to switch out, so I proceed to go for a Tailwind on this turn to reveal that as he sends in Cobalion. So, I know I'm faster than this thing, so I'm just going to go ahead and Volt Switch out. I'm not entirely sure what he wanted to do, but Volt Switch was the best move I had, and I figured I could just switch into something to take it. I decide to take a gamble and switch into Monokuma because I figure he's not going to go for a Fighting-type move on Zapdos, and lo and behold, I call that correctly. He ends up missing the Stone Edge, but I don't think it would have really mattered because Monokuma's a fighting type, it resists rock anyway, so I don't think Stone Edge would have done too much to begin with. So, knowing that he gets outsped because of Tailwind, he switches out as I proceed to fire off a Drain Punch on the incoming Gligar, which, this is a part where I kind of wish I had Ice Punch, but at the same time, it kind of really didn't make that much of a difference, because I put Gunk Shot on there for the Florges, unfortunately it didn't come. He knocks off my Choice Band here as I fire off a second Drain Punch and barely miss out on the kill, which is a bit unfortunate. Tailwind's going to wear off here, but Monokuma still outspeeds this thing, and is going to add yet another kill to his ever-growing resume for the season. Monokuma is really racking up the kills. I think it's actually, after this game, I think it actually is sitting as my mom with the second most kills on my team, or it's tied for that honor. Regardless, here comes the bird I really don't want to lay a finger on, but I know I have to. I do not want Monokuma getting blown up by a Hurricane, so I immediately switch out into Archangel, knowing that this thing can eat Hurricanes all day long because I resist due to the electric typing, and I did put a fair amount of special defensive bulk into this thing, specifically for purposes like this. So, love Mega Pidgeot. I do love, even its shiny coloring. Not a fan of the name just because, Flappy Bird. That's all you really need to know. I think that's all I really need to say. Getting back on track. He actually reveals some nice tech here as he goes for Hidden Power Rock. I'm assuming that's Rock with how much damage it did. Because there's not a whole lot else that kind of makes sense to me. I go ahead and roost off the damage. I was figuring he was probably going to try to switch out on me, but HP Rock definitely caught me off guard. But Archangel can still eat those. And I'm free to go ahead and set a Tailwind up on this turn. He U-turns out on me. And for probably the first time all season, Static actually activates. And that is one of his fast attackers crippled in the speed department. Not that it would have mattered too much, at least in the present moment, because like, as I said, I'm setting up Tailwind as he sends Heatran out at this point. Now, here I decide to get a little bit clever. I decide to Volt Switch out, and I figure, you know what? He's probably going to try to hit me with a Fire-type move. So I send in Mystic, which has Trace this time around. I didn't mention that in the Team Builder video. So I Trace his Flash Fire, expecting to take some kind of Fire-type move, just to make me immune to it, just so I can follow up. He actually roars me out, regardless of what I would have gone into, and I end up going into Steelix, which kind of sucks, but I don't mind it too much, because the Leftovers is going to nullify the Stealth Rock damage. He shows me Leftovers as well, so I'm really positive he is a more defensive Heatran, leaning more towards specially defensive, because that's what Heatran does best from a defensive standpoint. I decided to set up my Stealth Rocks here, even though I know I could eat a Lava Plume or Fire Blast or something. He actually switches Heatran out, surprisingly, and goes into Cofagrigus. And I don't want to take any Will-O-Wisp because I need Steelix's attack stat intact, so in case it has to take on Kyurem-Black. So I go into Archangel because it really doesn't mind being burned, and if this thing had to be status, I would rather it be burned than toxic, because this is basically my biggest wall this game. This is the thing that's going to cause him so many problems, and I cannot have it losing more and more health every turn. I go ahead and get the Tailwind back up here, just to see what he wanted to go for. And he shows me Shadow Ball, which I breathed a little bit of a sigh of relief here that he had Shadow Ball instead of, say, Hex. Hex would have done more damage because of the fact that I'm burned, so that I would have had to play around that a bit. But I'm fine with Shadow Ball because I'm able to roost off all the damage regardless. And if he wants to fire off a Shadow Ball, he can be my guest, because Archangel is still going to eat that up fairly nicely. The burn is going to kind of nullify my Leftovers recovery a bit, but that's alright, because Archangel is still sitting quite pretty right now. And it's at this point I proceed to Volt Switch out, because I figure he's probably going to Shadow Ball again, which gives me the perfect excuse to send in Nightclub, ready to rock and roll once again. He does proceed to fire off a Shadow Ball, which of course is not going to do anything because Nightclub is a normal type that just loves screaming at the top of its lungs at everything. Talk about power chords right there. So this is also where I reveal Leftovers to him, which kind of sucks thanks to the Stealth Rocks he set up. But I'm not too bothered by it. It is a bit of a bad reveal, but I still go ahead and sub knowing he's going to switch because I figure Cofagrigus can't touch me. And in case he wants to predict the me actually having the Scrappy ability and go for Boom Burst, this thing could take it. So I proceed to set up a sub regardless, so no harm, no foul there. There's a lot of Leftovers in this game, and I do apologize for that. It's kind of does make the battle drag on a bit, but too much bulky stuff on both sides. I miss a Focus Blast as he Lava Plumes and breaks my sub. So if anyone wants to cry foul about his Stone Edge misses and the fact that I got the static on him, there's a bit of karma to balance it out. I miss a Focus Blast that could have really punched a giant hole in this Heatran's face, essentially. And I followed up with a bit of a misplay. I end up being faster than him as I proceed to go ahead and Focus Blast. Instead of Lava Pluming me again, which I know I could take, he actually Toxics me. And I face-palmed after this because I should have seen that coming. If I had set up a sub predicting that, I really would have been sitting kind of nice right now. But I figured, I was so positive he would expect the sub and go for a Lava Plume to break it, that I figured I would rather just eat the Lava Plume damage, get a Focus Blast off on him, and go from there. So, bit of a misplay on my part, kind of over-committing to what I thought he was going to do. He goes into Cofagrigus now, not wanting Heatran to die to a Focus Blast, as I would be able to hit it with Scrappy, except as you saw there, I once again missed. So, 1 for 3 on Focus Blast this game. Kind of a bit of a stage dive of the bad variety for poor Nightclub here in that regard. But I decided to stay in regardless. I go ahead and Boom Burst because I really don't think this Cofagrigus can touch me, and I can get up a lot of damage on it. He actually reveals Energy Ball here, which I was a bit confused at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized he probably brought it for the likes of Rotom-Wash, or even to have something to actually hit my Steelix with. So, it is something he actually is able to hit X-Cloud with. As much as I would have loved to stay in and get the Boom Burst kill on this thing, I did not want Nightclub taking any more toxic damage at this point, because I figured I could possibly use it again later. So I send in Archangel now, knowing he's going to Energy Ball because he doesn't want to risk not being able to touch X-Cloud and potentially putting it into toxic death range. So Archangel comes in, takes the rocks, eats that Energy Ball up without a care in the world, and it's pretty safe to say that with my next move, I'm going to go ahead and Roost because I need to get HP back, because Archangel is putting in so much work right now. It's putting a lot of pressure on him from both sides of the spectrum, actually, offensive and defensive. In comes the Cobalion again as I proceed to do just that. So, this thing is in here again. I have a feeling it's probably going to try launching Stone Edges at me again, which I figure I can take a Stone Edge at this point, considering I just roosted up, and again, I'm more physically defensive on this thing. So I decided to stay in and test the waters, as he goes ahead and does proceed to Stone Edge, hits this one. I go ahead and roost off all the damage. I just kind of wanted to gauge how much the Stone Edge would have done to me. And now that I see that Stone Edge is going to cause me a bit of problems from this thing, I figure it's high time I get the heck out of here. So, figuring he's probably going to go for another Stone Edge to try to keep the pressure on Zapdos, I go ahead. Well, he misses a Stone Edge there, which that one did matter quite a bit because it really would have put Archangel in a worse position later on. But I Volt Switch out, I go into Steelix, because I'm starting to get a suspicious feeling here that this Cobalion is choice in some way, because of how committed he's been to Stone Edge, and how quickly he switched out of Pangoro, even though this confirms it to me. I figured he switched out earlier because of the Tailwind I had up, but this confirms to me that he is choiced in some way, and he's locked into Stone Edge. I go ahead and Earthquake, which would have killed the Cobalion. It's going to hit the incoming Cofagrigus. It does not kill it, it just barely misses it. But I know it's a bit of a speed tie here, depending on how he IV'd his Cofagrigus. But I decided to go for it anyway. I do end up getting the Earthquake off first, and Cofagrigus is going to bite the dust. So, Cobalion's going to come back in again, and the close combat is so painfully obvious here. I could have taken it because of Sturdy, but I needed Gold Mine still in the event that I lost control of this game because of Kyurem-Black. I did not want to take that gamble, so I go back into Archangel, knowing I can easily eat a close combat. And I figure at this point, this is where I decided to confirm once and for all, is he choiced? Because if he's choiced, he goes for close combat again. Otherwise, he Stone Edges and takes out Zapdos here. It was a bit of a risky play, but I was so confident that he was choiced. And lo and behold, I'm correct. I believe I believe this is actually his Choice Scarfer, if I'm not mistaken. Which, that ends up getting nullified because he once again activates Static, as I roost off all the damage. The statics only really mattered in this game as far as crippling 2 of his 3 dedicated attackers from a speed standpoint. He did not get fully paralyzed at any point in this game. So in regards to that, there is no major hacks. So at least I can feel kind of comfortable about that. Here I was a bit baffled because he sent in Mega Pidgeot, as I just go ahead and roost again. I figured he probably would have gone into, say, Heatran, considering that thing is especially defensive, and maybe started firing off some lava plumes on me, because he knows my whole set at this point. So he knows I don't have anything that can really threaten Heatran. I set up a Tailwind just to be on the safe side. Me outspeeding is due to the paralysis. I know I can eat an HP Rock from this thing because I'm at near full health, so I'm not threatened by it whatsoever. And this is where I have to commit the act that breaks my heart. Archangel is going to Volt Switch out, and for its stellar performance, it is going to nab at least a kill in this game to be able to validate all the hard work it put in. I believe that's the end of Zapdos' time in this game, because at this point, it's time for Apophobia to live up to its name and make my poor opponent fear the power of the bee. This is where Kyurem-Black comes into play. And I go ahead and Mega Evolve. If he is running dual Scarfers and this thing is also Scarfed, I am not afraid of staying in because I have the Tailwind up. So I know I will be able to outspeed this thing no matter what. I can go ahead and U-turn out on it, get some big damage off. I do end up getting a crit here, but ultimately that crit did not matter because I would have been able to two-shot this thing anyway. I decide, as much as I wanted to keep its unkilled streak intact, to send in Nightclub as Death Fodder. And this is where he confirms to me that he was not Scarfed at all, as he goes ahead and reveals the Sub-Zero Slammer. I want to assume he was probably using Freeze Shock to get the most power out of it, but ultimately it ends up being a bit of a waste this game, because he's using it on a Mon that is toxic and very weak. So I'm sorry I had to sack you off like that, Nightclub, but it's nothing personal. It's just in case I lost control of this game, you were the most expendable option I had at this point. But Apophobia is not going to take that death lying down since it ruined a potential 6-0. So I'm going to be able to come in, fire off a Poison Jab, do in Kyurem-Black. Love the name Venom, by the way. Tailwind's going to peter out, but at this point it's kind of irrelevant, because all he has left is Heatran and a paralyzed Cobalion, both of which, especially thanks to the paralysis on Cobalion, Mega Beedrill is going to be able to outspeed. I'm going to be able to just fire off a pair of drill runs here, and that is going to call it a game right there. This could have potentially gotten a bit disastrous if I had missed one of the drill runs, or at least it would have dented the differential I got out of this game a little more, but ultimately, I am going to hit this drill run. I'm going to walk away with a 5-0. That is what happens when you execute a game plan to perfection. That was a great game, Derpy. Sorry, I, for the most part, kind of ended up controlling the game from beginning to end, and I know those two statics did not really help you in any way. They kind of really helped cement my absolute momentum domination. But that is kind of the reason I ran static. As much as I am not a fan of hacks, I am going to, if it means winning, I'm going to take advantage of what hacks I am allowed to use. And crippling mons from a speed standpoint with paralysis is sometimes necessary. And it kind of did play a bit of a key role in this game. Though to be honest, even if I would have ended up losing another mon and having to dip it in the differential I gained, whatever Derpy locked himself into, either Zapdos or Steelix, or even Pangoro from that point, would have been able to take the hit. Whatever he locked himself into, and polish him off from there. So at the end of the day, the paralysis didn't entirely matter, but it is what it is. So I'm going to be able to walk away with a 5-0. Executing my game plan to perfection. Zapdos, I know Apophobia got 3 kills and finally got a chance to shine like it's been dying to do all season. But Zapdos is the real MVP of this game just because of the fact that from an offensive and a defensive standpoint, it puts so much pressure on his entire team, tanks so many hits, set up Tailwind so many times to allow me to maintain speed control and stay one step ahead of him throughout the course of the game. So, the Archangel gets its moment to shine. Praise Helix for that. So, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. I think I've kind of probably killed the mood with that little revelation. So, anyway, thank you guys so very much for watching. I have been Ruppy, and my Columbus Swoo and I will see you guys next time. Take care.